Thank you, Erica. Brad, next technical update from Brad Fleming.
All right, so we'll run through a few technical updates from this past year and a few things that we're looking forward on. Touching a little bit on some fiber that we're adding to the core network. So this is already done. This first pathway I'm going to talk about is the red line in the diagram. It's connecting Johnson County Community College to the University of Kansas via DeSoto. So if you know state geography a little bit, provides us a nice redundant route for both Johnson County Community College and the University of Kansas that's geographically diverse from our existing northern backbone, which is a huge advantage to what we're doing today. And they're in DeSoto. If anyone's been following data center stuff in the state, there's a massive project going on in DeSoto that doesn't have a name officially attached to it other than the developer's name. Something's going in there. There's a chance in the future we may be connecting into whatever tenant is in that data center, whether it's Microsoft, whether it's Amazon, or whether it's some other tenant that lives in this $5 billion data center that's going in. That red line apparently runs right past the property line where this data center is going. So in the future, the fiber provider, in this case, confirm that we can open that fiber in the future, and they'd be willing to let us do that very easily in the future should we need to. So provides a lot of services for us redundancy-wise today, and has a bunch of advantages for us in the future, depending upon how that plays out. The other pathway, and that one is coming online right now. Like it's in the process of getting built and final splicing and testing done. We actually have the DWDM equipment in the cold room right now getting configured to go into place. The blue line is a pathway that goes in between K-State Olathe and downtown Kansas City and 1102 Grand. This displaces a 10 gig lit circuit, and we moved it into a dark fiber that we light up with at 100 gig now. And the dark fiber is actually less expensive per month than the 10 gig circuit we're using. Which is pretty incredible, right? And the blue project is actually done. That fiber's in. We have the 100 gig coherent optics in there. It's up and moving traffic today, and has been, I think, a couple weeks now. Go ahead. This is a little bit of a forward-looking and kind of the thing that we're going to be spending a tremendous amount of time on over the next year. Looking at the diagram, the blue line is what we sometimes refer to as our northern fiber. This is a really old Quest fiber that rides the railroad tracks. It serves downtown Kansas City, University of Kansas, and K-State. I know it runs right past Topeka, but at the time, we didn't drop it out to go into Washburn. It was established before Washburn was a member. And then it kind of gets orphaned after Manhattan. It just kind of goes into the ether. It means that we just don't have any need for DWDM services. The lease on that fiber is coming up in the next 18-ish months. We're working on getting that extended and getting the costs transferred over to KanREN. But the longer term goal and plan is to try and work on this red line, which is some brand new fiber that Lumen is putting in the ground that is, if you're familiar with fiber type, it's really fancy SMF 28 Ultra 200. It's kind of the gold standard for really nice fiber for DWDM services. And it's a little hard to tell from this diagram, obviously, but it rides along I-70, which is really nice because right of way is, you don't get a lot of backhoes on I-70, just kind of random, Billy Bob showing up with his backhoe. Whereas some of our other fiber, we do have that issue. So we're working with Lumen to try and figure out cost components here and get those nailed down. Availability, like when that's going to actually be there. And then this doesn't actually obviously run into the KU campus, the K-State campus, Washburn. So we've got to also figure out how to get the extensions from these fibers into the actual campuses. But we're working through those details and trying to figure everything out. That fiber, never purchase long haul fiber, almost no carrier will let you just take, the 200 yards you need. So you got to buy the 200 miles on the run. So that fiber will go all the way to Denver. Should we choose to purchase it from Lumen? And then there'll be a question about whether we actually light all of that from, specifically from Hayes all the way, which is Kansas City to Hayes, and then Hayes to Denver. They're almost the exact same distance. So it'll be a question of how much more equipment do we want to deploy and how much is Denver worth to us as an organization. Okay. We are in the process of upgrading our connectivity with Internet 2 and GPN. We have existing connections in Kansas City. The connection in KC is a 400 gig. The existing connection down through, on our side, it's in Wichita. On GPN and Internet 2 side, it's in Tulsa. We use a 100 gig circuit to get down there over the coming year. And we're getting really close to being able to turn up the 400 gig circuit between Wichita and Tulsa. There's some stuff on the Tulsa end that's taking some time about getting it trenched into under the ground is what's the problem on the Tulsa side right now. But that'll turn into a 400 gig connection. And in Kansas City, we're actually going to put in an 800 gig connection. And I'm going to be honest with you, it's because we have the 800 gig optics. And I wanted to be the first state on GPN to have 800 gig connections. And it wasn't that, we're talking $3,000 and across the suite. And we run both sides. We run GPN on a NOC contract for those that don't know. So we're just going to go do it. And we'll make it available to some of our traffic. So if you have big bandwidth needs out to the greater world, there will not be a limitation of capacity. You will be able to do any type of, you will be well ahead of any other RNE capability in the country that I'm aware of at least. So bring your big bandwidth research stuff, please. Just quickly looking through network traffic. I didn't include a ton of slides because we could throw traffic graphs at you all day. It would be just as boring as one. So looking at the year ago, we saw peaks, about 250 gig and in and out, and a total of about 800 petabytes of total data moved across the network. This number can be a little bit bigger. This is a pretty safe number to tell you that we move around for the year. It's a pretty healthy amount of data. There's bigger peers of ours that move more than this, but honestly, not that many. This is a very big network compared to some of our neighbors. So hopefully you guys can read some of this. This is just showing we have this tool called KanREN. It's flow data. This is one example. If you're interested in seeing this type of data for your organization, let us know after the fact. We'll happily do some show and tell and have a good time. This is what's called a Sankey diagram if you've never seen one before. It's just showing the originating geographical region, the originating city, the destination city, and then everything lands in Kansas in this case. So yeah, just an interesting diagram. This is mainly to let you guys know with Kintech, we can dig into almost anything you want to see about your traffic patterns and where it's coming from, what it looks like, trends, volumes, whatever you want to see. Packets per second, anything you can see, we can dig into. Sometimes you guys probably have heard us talk about Overwatch services. It's a very generic term. There's no great way to summarize all of this stuff. They kind of fall into two different categories. So with Overwatch services, we have security-centered services. We work with Team KanREN, which I know it looks like KanREN is KanREN. If you've ever heard of them, they're a very open group that works with communities. They provide data threat feeds and all kinds of neat stuff. One of the tools that they have, we feed flow data into it. They apply all of their security intelligence to that. And then they can identify all the botnets and all the nasty stuff that our members are talking to. The nice thing is that works for every single member, every single IP that's on the network. And it's really cool because it's real time. So whenever we log in there, and I'll show you an example here in just a second, it's real time, and anything we see in there is happening right now. It's highly actionable. If you're using KanREN's IP space, so R16s and R17, we also can do things with Shadow Server and Shodan. They will auto-report some things. Sometimes there's a little bit of a lag, so it's sometimes a little bit less actionable. So whatever. Some of our other Overwatch services fall into more performance, and a lot of this stuff is done in Kentech as well. We do constant testing from 2 points on our network into all these different regions on all these different cloud providers. So they will throw our alarms at us if there's a problem. So yeah, if we're having an issue, we're likely going to know if you guys are having problems with O365. Hey, there's something going on with Azure. We're in the West. Go ahead. This is an example of what we would normally see. And yes, there's 2 white bars there to protect the innocent here, or the guilty. So this is what the Team KanREN tool is going to show us is like, what exactly is going on? And you can see like this is primarily botnet activity and exactly which botnet we're talking about. So some quick security updates. You're on the InTech meetings, you probably are tired of hearing about some of this stuff. Everybody else gets to hear it now. We migrated from CrowdStrike over to SentinelOne for MDR services over the past year. We do this for desktops, servers, everything. And the reason was primarily cost, but there's a tag-on reason that SentinelOne is dramatically easier for our staff to operate than CrowdStrike. If you've ever looked at both, CrowdStrike has a permissions table that's like 27 pages long or something. It's built for the Department of Defense level categorization of users. SentinelOne is much more approachable and easy and stuff in one place. We just finished the first half of our coal-fire engagement, which was the external testing. We got the results back. It was significantly better than what I thought it might be, actually. They didn't find any major issues. They found like a warning level issue and then a couple of the things that we opened some tickets and there's some guys working on it, I think, right now, actually. Email security, over the past year, we contracted for KnowBe4 services for training and kind of constant testing. Those campaigns are just constantly running in the background. So far, I haven't caught any of our staff yet. But I log in and add tests all the time and campaigns. So I'm hoping they have some new AI campaign. They're trying to sneak through the side door. So I'll maybe catch some. We have a project underway to replace Snap. Does anyone know what Snap is? If you ever want to, go to Snap, S-N-A-P-P, I remember a second, .kanren.net. You'll find a bunch of tools. One of the tools is a traffic graphing system. It is very old. It uses old tools on the back end and it uses SNMP. We're actively working to migrate that over to a streaming telemetry system that uses a time series database and Grafana. And this is not something KanREN members have to deal with, but Snap is a very manually controlled and manicured system, and it takes a lot of time. And if you don't pay really close attention, things get missed. Streaming telemetry, all this stuff gets dealt with automatically. The second you configure an interface, it shows up in the portal easy. So we're actively starting work on this right now, and hopefully this time, throughout the year, we'll be able to say, hey, we're doing this migration and stop using Snap, start using this new tool we have out there. And then my last slide, is about, one future thing that we're gonna start digging into is coherent optics. Just to kind of give you an idea, like vendors have figured out how to shrink, a DWDM transponder card, sled, whatever you want to call it, that's like normally a big piece of equipment all the way down into a USFP DD or OSFP, depending upon which optic you're using. And in that shrinking of size, the little tiny new module, which you think would be more expensive, they're insanely less expensive. These things are like $6,500 for a pair of them versus $30,000 for transponder sled. So like the ability to add more capacity to the network is becoming really, really, really inexpensive anywhere where we have DWDM systems. They're also way lower power. You can buy modules from different vendors should you choose, like ADA over here and Sienna over here, and they just work. And there's some really neat scenarios where we could see these getting used where like KanREN to GPN is a potential scenario. A more interesting scenario is actually, especially larger members where we've got DWDM nodes on your campus, we can put coherent optics in your equipment, ride the DWDM network, and then terminate that wave like in Kansas City, or wherever. And all of these things will actually work together. And then there's some scenarios with like, if you're a large research university, you need a lot of dedicated capacity out to, it's going to use Purdue University. You can write our optical, then write Internet 2's optical, and drop out the other end and do it for $6,500. And we do have one of these links already deployed. It's only 100 gig, but that's plenty to at least get the idea of what we're working with. And throughout the year, I think we're going to try to test out some 800 gig modules because they really want to sell them to us. And I can say, give me demos first. So. Yeah.